You know what Sony had? The Holy Trinity. Leo, Brad, and Margot. Who do you have?
This week, Jordan Fish and Ray Tintori of the To the White Sea podcast join us to discuss Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and Javier Bardem in the Coen brothers' classic No Country for Old Men. This is Boy Party. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Boy Party, the podcast that tackles cinema's most legendary team-ups. Films where three major stars share the screen and battle it out for screen time, top billing, the fatter paycheck, and the most acclaim. Every week, we discuss movies that give audiences 2 or 3 for the price of 1 on Legends of the Silver Screen and delve into dueling star personas and the ultimate quest for box office, Oscars, and cinematic dominance. My name is Lucian Wadley, and this week I'm joined, as always, by the man who stole a bunch of my money from a truck I left in the desert, and now I'm going to do anything in my power to get it and him. It's Shane Kelly.
Good evening.
And to discuss a Coen brothers classic, we are joined by a pair of fabulous filmmakers from across the Atlantic from the To the White Sea podcast. We have Ray Tintori and Jordan Fish joining us on the show. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. Would one of you like to give our listeners a very quick explanation of what To the White Sea is all about, just in case they haven't heard it?
First of all, I want to say I'm Jordan.
And I'm Ray.
This is something that I've noticed on like Reddit comments that I'm going to try to do, as awkward as it is, which is just to like hopefully help people
match
distinguish which voice
yeah.
is which. Ray, do you want to do the honors or I can do it?
Yeah, it's a podcast where basically there was a Coen's film that went into pre-production and got shut down in 2001. That was a like $200 million action film that the script has been available, like a leaked version of the script has been available on the internet for about 20 years. But the Coens never got to make the movie, and it's considered their, like, arguably their greatest achievement in writing. And it's what's the most famous thing about the script is that it's got, after the first 11 pages, almost zero dialogue. So it's an almost entirely silent, completely like gangbusters, insane, on a scale like they never like accomplished or even attempted action movie. It's set in World War II and was written to star Brad Pitt, adaptation of this awesome book by the guy that wrote Deliverance. And we are reading the script, 2 pages an episode, and basically looking into each 2 pages and being like, what's the motor, what's like the actor, like the activated ingredient in each 2 pages, and then pulling out like a prism. So if it's like the first episode was the script starts with a cold open monologue, and so we went through all the Coen films and picked out every one of their scripts that starts with a cold open monologue. What's up? Recently we had their sound designer on, Skip Levsey, and we did all scenes that were almost silent. Like there's barely any sounds. You can hear a pin drop kind of scenes, because the 2 pages were a pin drop kind of scene. Jordan, do you have anything to add?
I would just say cold open monologues relates to there's a cold open monologue in the movie we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So you guys have obviously discussed this movie from like loads of different perspectives, and you'll continue to do so. Our perspective here on the show is generally to do with our lead actors, the stars of a movie, and trying to figure out, is there a bigger star amongst this group? So I suppose with No Country for Old Men, it's interesting. Tommy Lee Jones is top billed here. He was the biggest star going into the production. He's an Oscar winner about a decade previous to this. And, you know, in the book, which we've both just been reading the last few weeks, I have this lovely movie tie-in edition here of the McCarthy novel. I finished it a few days ago. I absolutely loved it. I'd never read it before. I read a bit of McCarthy when I was younger. I read The Road, but like I hadn't read this before. And you know, the sheriff is kind of a narrator in the novel in a way that he isn't in the movie, because he's giving these like sort of commentary on his life and his career and the world in between the different chapters. And the movie loses that a little bit. And I feel like you wouldn't necessarily come away from this movie thinking of him as the main character, maybe, as much as you would with Llewellyn, who is kind of our, you know, protagonist from a thrusting the plot forward sense. and then Shakur is kind of his own thing. And then Javier Bardem is second billed. He wins supporting actor at the Oscars, which is kind of an assertion there that he's not maybe the lead. But I'm interested, it's kind of a dumb question, but do you guys think there is one lead character, lead performance in this movie, or is it a perfect sort of three-way split?
Well, I would say if you had to pick one, it's Llewellyn, just in terms of it's Brolin. But we've seen this before with Fargo. Like, I think Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones are pretty closely analogous to William H. Macy and Frances McDormand in Fargo in terms of like how they sort of share the kind of like lead role, like the way that the movie introduces them and how, you have this guy who's in over his head, and then you also have this cop who's trying to sort of pick up the pieces and figure things out.
Yeah, they love a braid, starting with Blood Simple and then going to Raising Arizona and then Burn After Reading and Fargo and Hail Caesar. Like, you can do a lot of their movies where it's like they're jumping between three characters that all could be the protagonist of the movie. And when they decide to jump from one to the other is super interesting. And so that's a thing. And they always throw it off where it's like, Frances McDormand is, would so clearly be the protagonist of Fargo, except she doesn't show up until so late into the movie that it makes you kind of question that. And similarly to this, like Josh Brolin, there's such a clear case for him being the lead, except he dies so early in the film. And it's such a strange moment when he does, that I feel like that throws it off.
And Tommy Lee Jones' monologue too starts the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, starting and ending the film with him. But that's very that goes back to like Blood Simple. Like, they shot the whole movie and then we're like, oh, we should have Visser have a monologue at the beginning just so that he feels like more like a through line for the movie. So that I feel like they'll shoot something and then they'll add something later to balance it out. So you have a more decentralized protagonist experience.
Yeah, it's interesting. Brolin is the one of these guys as well that the Coens return to as a leading man later. I mean, they have him in a sort of a secondary role in True Grit, but then for Hail Caesar, they cast him as a very traditional Hollywood lead. Quite literally, he's playing their kind of studio fixer character, and they don't really use the other two guys again in that way. So I'm wondering, like, is Brolin to the Coens asserting himself in this film as a potential great leading man that they now see a future with, both in general in his career and for themselves as filmmakers? And I wonder, will they, both as individual filmmakers, if they're continuing to work alone, or if they're working together again, are they going to rope Brolin in again as their number one guy?
Oh yeah, and they made an awesome short with him, starring this character. Have you guys seen that?
No, we haven't seen
it. Oh yeah,
it's
called World Cinema, right, Jordan?
Yeah. Yeah, it's essentially starring a version of Llewellyn. It's like Llewellyn on his off hours finds himself in LA, has some time to kill, and steps into an art film, an art house movie theater, and asks the clerk there, who's played by
Grant Heslov.
Grant Heslov,
like the other part of George.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is funny to bring Clooney into this. Who's the Coens, another actor that the Coens have made a series of films with as the lead. But yeah, he decides whether he's going to watch the movie Climates or the movie
the Reg de Joux.
Oh yeah. The is it rules of the game, right?
Yeah. What is it?
Amazing. I don't remember how it's pronounced, but I always just call it Rules of the Game.
No, you nailed it.
Yeah.
He does it in his twang. It's like he's just him deciding which art movie to see, and he's asking like, is there livestock in either of them?
And yeah, Grant Heslov's like, maybe a little bit in Rules of the Game. I think he's thinking about the scene where they're like shooting all the rabbits and stuff.
But like I always think of Josh Brolin as like one of the go-to leading men of the last 2 decades. I looked up, and like in terms of actual being the star of a movie, he's only been the number one guy in like 5 studio films. Like it's kind of nuts. He's actually most of the time a supporting actor. But I guess his physicality and his jawline and everything about him does sort of make him seem like a movie star in a very old-fashioned way, where I'm like, the Coens are clearly latching onto something in him in this and in Caesar as like old school, perfect jawline leading man, and maybe they haven't really encountered anyone else like that they can use in that way. I guess Clooney in a certain sense, but they tend to cast him as kind of a buffoon. So
Yeah,
is there something special there they tap into?
I think it was super special. And also, he was kind of in oblivion when this movie was made, because I think he was like a child actor, basically, who I think was mostly like a stockbroker at the time that he, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's stories that like him and Jeremy Renner both had sort of like synced up times in the wilderness, where they're both guys who their agents and people in the industry sort of knew had a certain gravitas, but didn't necessarily have the roles. And so they were sort of just hanging out doing like real estate arbitrage and other like schemes to make money. I think they've both talked about this, but it sounds almost like a Coen Brothers movie.
But yeah, he really this was a huge breakthrough, and I think he fought super hard. The first time I saw this movie was at a screening, actually, where Tommy Lee Jones, Javier Bardem, and Josh Brolin were all there, and I remember him being
Wow.
I got in their wavelength. I made sure they knew, and when I was in the room with them, I just told them as passionately as possible, like, I know this guy, I know these people, I grew up with these people. Like, this is similarly, actually, William H. Macy has very, very similar story of like crashing an audition, and just going for broke, basically begging the Coens for the part, which is like, it's interesting, the similarity of their two characters that are a little over their skis in desperation.
And am I right to think that Heath Ledger was offered it, or was a top choice for it and turned it down, or at least that's what the urban legend says?
I did not know that.
That's what I've garnered from half-assed internet research, is that Heath Ledger wanted to spend more time with his kid. He turned it down. James Franco read for it. I don't know if he got very far, but I mean, they obviously ended up on the perfect guy here.
Yeah. And they ended up using Franco in the Near Algodones short, which is not very similar, but
Can I say something? What I did in preparation for this is I put the movie into Premiere, and I cut it up based off of every time there was a POV jump from the 3 leads, and then just kind of like looked at like how much time you're spending, because the film has a really, really strong sense of POV. It really like gives you the visceral experience of being there, but then it will like hop from Josh Brolin to Tommy Lee Jones, and then it'll even like, I would argue there's like a fourth thread, which is Woody Harrelson. Like, there are sequences where it really jumps to his POV, and I think what's so cool about this is it doesn't like put the pressure of telling the whole story just on one character or one kind of feeling. So like, I almost feel like those moments with Woody Harrelson are like really underrated, just in their ability of like letting the other 3 storylines kind of cool down for a while. So when you jump back into them, they're super exciting. And when I broke it, what are you going to say, Jordan?
Oh, I just wanted to jump in and say it's interesting. I noticed watching it again that Harrelson seems to take the lead while Llewellyn and Chigurh are both like incapacitated.
Yeah.
Like,
good
it's
call.
it's like Llewellyn's in the hospital, and Chigurh just injected himself with some kind of sedative. I believe we then go to Ed Tom Bell talking about the story about the steer. But I'm pretty sure soon after that is when Harrelson walks into the picture and goes and talks to Stephen Root.
It's like you can't kill the momentum. The movie's moving at such an insane barreling pace that if there are people incapacitated, let's just jump over this guy, make sure that it stays on the tracks. It's a clever way of doing it.
It's kind of like a pop song where you have the bridge like 2/3 of the way through it.
True.
Yeah, and it also just allows them to not put in scenes that would be in a more obvious version of this movie. Like, I think what's so cool, what makes this film like so lasting, is that it just delivers like the best cat and mouse thriller action stuff you've ever seen in a movie. But then there just like isn't a lot of just extra scenes that would normally pad that stuff out, and the absence is really surprising. Like the stuff that's missing like makes you look at it a second time and go like, wow, what is going on here? So yeah, the stuff that they just jump over is fascinating in this movie.
Yeah, it's such an unusually paced book and movie. I mean, you've got these extended scenes, which ultimately are the most iconic scenes in the movie, like what you guys referred to on your show as the friendo conversation, which is between the proprietor and Shigur near the start of the movie, which is so incredible, which the movie really lets breathe and spends time on. But then, as in the book, Llewellyn is killed off screen and there isn't any real interest in watching him be killed. The same with, Kelly Macdonald's character, where the book, we do see her be killed. In the movie, they just cut to straight afterwards. So there's like very dramatic, cinematic moments like these of violence that the film doesn't really have any interest in, whereas it does have interest in sort of luxuriating in the Coen-ness of some of its minor characters, which is what makes it, I think, so incredibly special.
And we're interested as an audience, and they're the Coens are the film itself is very aware of what you want to see. Like every time I watch the scene where Llewellyn's, when we see from Ed Tom Bell's perspective, like the shooting, he hears the shooting, and then you see the SUV or the Jeep like roll out of there. It's really interesting, the series of shots they give us, because you see the guy dead in the pool. I always think that Brolin's dead in the pool when I watch it. You see it dead because we just saw him in the pool.
Yeah.
But then you see it's a dead body in the pool. Then you see there's a guy dead in the street between the pool and the hotel room. And then we go into the hotel room and we see Brolin dead on his back. We ID him. But the amazing thing about that is you can recreate the scene that just happened in your head, right? Like it's something like, dude bushwhacked him while he was in the pool or near the pool. He took him out. He had his gun with him. Then he took a guy out on the way. Then he immediately was like, I got to go get the money out of the air conditioning duct, is on his way to the hotel room and takes another dude out and probably gets shot at that point, and then collapses in the hotel room door. Like, it's interesting, as much as the movie elides that whole thing, it's given you all the pieces to recreate it in your mind, which is, one of the best things ever that a movie can do for you.
Yeah. Shane, do you have any thoughts on Brolin's performance in this?
Yeah, it's very stern. He's not someone I have a lot of affection for in general, but I think he really kind of brings a bit of power to it. As you said, there's like a lot of silence in this film, and you kind of need a bit of presence to make your performance felt, and not just drift away into being the kind of silent type man with a gun who
he's acting opposite nobody in a lot of these
and he
scenes.
doesn't, and a lot of his dialogue with Kelly MacDonald is very much, I'm going out, I'm not telling you where I'm going. It's very easy for that to kind of fade away and not feel like a real character sometimes, so you have to bring a lot of expression and a lot of kind of power and feel like there's a lot of depth there. So I think he does a good job.
I think this movie is a good showcase of like how actors can bounce off each other even when they're not sharing the frame. You have Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones, who I think are such a great duo, even though they're not in the same scenes. And then the hilarious thing that happens is that Brolin plays young Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black 3, and they're not in any scenes together in that. But again, they're complimenting each other's performance, and Brolin, you can tell, is like, has probably been inspired his entire career by Tommy Lee Jones's type of performance, and he just like leans into that impression, does such a good job with it.
It reminds me of Rob Lowe in Austin Powers too.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Like the beautiful impression he does of that older actor of number two.
Like, I would rather watch Brolin do an impression of Tommy Lee Jones than do his decent but not amazing George W. Bush, perhaps. Like, I think he's better suited to that type of thing. But like Brolin in this movie and in a lot of what he does afterwards, he's got a lot of like the potential to be a new, Kevin Costner type, American kind of heartland figure. And maybe the type of movies that get made nowadays just don't allow that to become his persona. And now he's on like a TV show that I haven't seen on Amazon Prime. You kind of wonder, would he be better off if he ended up in the Taylor Sheridan space doing some sort of, Yellowstone oil rig type thing? Because that's maybe an audience that he can connect to because he has this like traditional machismo. But he has kind of won me over the last few weeks. I've gone back, revisited a lot of his performances. He's really good in some of the Woody Allen stuff. I really like him in You Will Meet a Tall Dark Stranger. He's good when he's in stuff like Only the Brave, Sicario, where he's playing a kind of a slightly non-traditional type of kind of macho leading man. But like, again, in those movies, he's acting opposite other actors who are maybe kind of, Emily Blunt and people who are a bit different to him. So I don't know. I really like him, but in this movie, he is sharing the screen with two other icons. But is the role of Ed Tom Bell written with Tommy Lee Jones in mind at all by McCarthy, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Isn't there
Interesting
like a
question.
question of like, did he have the Coens in mind when he wrote, or like how inspired was he by the Coens, like when he wrote the book, right? Isn't that?
Well, my understanding of that book is he wrote it as a screenplay first, or he saw it as a movie first and then sort of worked his way towards it as a novel. But like,
okay. Am I right in thinking the only actual like screenplay he ever wrote that was put straight into production was The Counselor, and otherwise it's all adaptation?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what format he wrote it in, but I did. Yeah. I have a pretty clear memory. I mean, I'm not going off of like a primary source document that he saw it as a movie in some sense.
Had this been picked up as the rights to a film before it was written? Because there is a very short gap between the release.
There's a very short gap. I think Scott Rudin probably reads it right around the time that it's published or just beforehand and brings it straight to the brothers, right? And says, you guys have to make this. It's perfect.
Yeah.
We talked about there were maybe other guys up for the role of Llewellyn. It feels to me like Tommy Lee Jones is like the one and only choice for this part, and he is the face of this type of man. I feel like there's nobody else you could slot in here. Generationally, he's perfect. It's funny, they don't have a real history of working with him. Otherwise, he does feel like he kind of chews on the Coen dialogue and tonality very well. Like, I wonder, is he still got one other good Coen performance in him? I don't know.
I wonder, it's like, were they, because they're such friends with Barry Sonnenfeld, like, is this them watching Men in Black? Or, being like, we could use him to greater effect. Mm-hmm. Definitely feels like Josh Brolin being in Men in Black 3 is a response. I just feel like there's a call and response between Sonnenfeld and the Coens sometimes, where you can see them getting like jealous of each other's actors.
Like Sonnenfeld, I do like the idea of him watching them up on the stage at the Oscars for No Country and thinking, okay, where do I reach this pinnacle of success with my third Men in Black movie? That's where I'll do this.
There's actually an amazing podcast you can listen to of the three of them talk, like, basically, it's Barry Sonnenfeld showing the Coen brothers on stage scenes from Men in Black 3 and trying to convince them that it's really cool.
Oh, wow. Okay. Does he succeed?
I feel like it gets a little contentious. It's really like an amazing insight into like the teasing nature of their friendship. Highly recommended. And just to hear the Coens talk like in depth about Men in Black 3. Is amazing.
That does sound amazing.
I think there's something similar about Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black and Javier Bardem in No Country.
Fair.
Mainly just the way that the sort of structural through line of this character kind of stalking around doing stuff.
Yeah. And then let's not forget they put Michael Stuhlbarg in Men in Black 3 as well in a really pivotal role.
It's all over the place. There's references to Barton Fink in RV Runaway Vacation. I really do think there's meat here in terms of them looking at each other.
I guess Raimi is probably the fourth factor in that. Is he in terms of referencing them back and forth?
Totally, yeah. It's so interesting that all those guys started out in the same kind of primordial creative soup together. and then they have such distinct voices.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like there's just something, again, like maybe I'm just making too many left-wing swings here, but there's something about Brolin's physicality in this movie that reminds me of Army of Darkness, where the character just like moves through space and like wields weapons.
Just big guy, big lantern-jawed guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking, the guy in Blood Simple is also kind of like a masculine dude, and Billy Bob in Man Who Wasn't There is kind of a masculine dude. Like that, those were the three, and Llewellyn were like the three kind of masculine action figure guys in their movies. But that Llewellyn was the sweetheart of those three. That there was like, if you looked at those other two performances, you'd be like, oh, there's a lot that Josh Brolin is doing here to make himself very charismatic and very soft and kind of gentle.
I shall return. That's the twink. He has a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah, he's flirty. He's that cool mustache,
Yeah.
and he really is doing a lot of like Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopher. I feel like he's referencing a whole like generation of actors very effortlessly, which is hard to do.
Yeah, Cisco Pike.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones feels like an actor to me who was born old, and it's shocking to realize that like he was in Love Story when he was young, and like he's quite a striking young actor, but obviously is someone who doesn't really hit his stride in terms of like commercial success until he's kind of middle-aged, and he gets his Oscar for The Fugitive in 1993. And then my favorite Tommy Lee Jones story is obviously his kind of beef with Jim Carrey on the production of Batman Forever, and his famous "I will not sanction your buffoonery" rant, which I really hope is true. Someday that's going to be proven false, but I'm going to choose to believe that he said that because it makes me love him so much.
Tommy Lee Jones is funny too, you know?
He's
like,
really funny.
Let's
funny.
Let's not imagine that he said that with 1000% seriousness.
This is true. He's Al Gore's college roommate, and he introduces Al Gore at the 2000 DNC, which is a really fun, like, weird side kind of quest for Tommy Lee Jones that I feel like people don't consider. But I mean, he's a rare case of someone who wins an Oscar for a supporting performance in someone else's movie in The Fugitive that is such a beloved performance that they gave him a sequel spin-off, U.S. Marshals, which is like, you have to be really striking a chord with audiences to achieve that, I feel like. That's like, Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter level like success.
Yeah, he stole the show. He stole the show from Harrison Ford. That's not easy.
He's so cool. Him and his whole crew are like the coolest people. If you go back and watch The Fugitive, like everyone in that crew has such cool clothes. They all hang out with each other so cool. Like he's really not like that is a magnetically charismatic, fun hangout performance, even though he is the antagonist in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Men in Black probably finds a better use for him as a blockbuster guy than Batman does, in the sense that like his sternness and his like craggy face gets to be the tool that Will Smith kind of gets to bounce off of. And Sonnenfeld obviously has a knack for identifying that and gets great success there. He is like kind of in and out of, Clint Eastwood world, and he directs a little bit, and he's obviously interested in westerns and does these kind of like corporate dramas like The Company Men. And I hadn't really thought about him much and kind of his look and everything until I see him in Ad Astra in 2019, where he shows up kind of towards the end as Pitt's father, and I had this really shocking realization that he looked exactly like my own father when he shows up in that film. The way he's got his facial hair and the way he just like has these tired eyes. And then I was like, oh, now me and Tommy Lee Jones have a very important emotional relationship, and I'm going to respond completely differently to him in every film, especially when he has any kind of like sentimentality around him, or he's playing somebody who's like older and retiring and all of this. So now he's like somebody I have a huge amount of warmth for that I maybe didn't previously. But as you said, he's funny, and I think he uses his like cranky reputation and persona in like the most pleasant and charming way possible. And like, he's still working? Like, he's got some stuff in the works, but he's kind of winding down, I suppose, in his late 70s now, but he's got an incredible body of work behind him. Any other performances I haven't mentioned that stand out to you guys?
Oh, Volcano.
Yes. Volcano is really good.
I I feel
much
like
better than Dante's Peak.
the two things I'd say is like
Although Dante's Peak has stuff going on.
Okay.
I'd say JFK worth checking out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lincoln.
True. Yeah.
funny, like lots of jokes. Like that's a largely comedic performance.
When he takes his wig off, right? Yeah. Like Lincoln feels like it's Spielberg modulating Tommy Lee Jones's star persona post No Country.
For sure. I mean, all of these guys' star personas are either cemented or shift hugely after this film, I feel like. And like Bardem does kind of use it as maybe the kind of crux of his, you know, he takes a lot of gigs in big movies that are probably trying to get him to do the Chigurh thing over and over again. In Bond, I think he does the best twist on it in Skyfall, where I think he is really good and he makes something new and fresh out of that, which I like a lot. But then in stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean 5 and stuff, you're kind of hiring him to, it's like, do your thing and do your little Chigurh, you know, dance for the applause. And maybe he doesn't get we don't get as much potential out of Bardem as we could have in another world where people weren't trying to constantly, you know, pull from the iconography of this performance. And I've been thinking, like, is this performance accidentally become like popular with like the kind of the young men online who kind of fetishize the Joker and like Peaky Blinders characters and this certain kind of like macho villain thing? Because if you go onto YouTube and you type in No Country for Old Men, there's like hundreds of millions of views on every Chigurh clip, where I'm like, I think that there are like 15-year-old boys who are watching this stuff on repeat who haven't seen the full movie.
I think there probably is a little bit of a lack of a wider goal from there. He's not trying to peddle some countercultural message. I think he's just like going around killing people, and like it doesn't sit there as much as like the Joker's message or any of the other kind of.
Sure, it's hard to be radicalized by Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, because he doesn't really have any politics.
At least he's got that. At least he's got the Prince Valiant haircut. You know, at least he's given these 13-year-old incels some style tips.
Yeah, exactly.
The incels just don't like the haircut. That's why I don't.
That's the
latch
one
onto it.
reason they won't join a cult dedicated to his craft.
Yeah.
I think he's very good in the Dune movies, especially.
He's
Dune
great in the
2.
Dune movies. Speaking
Yeah.
of Josh Brolin,
Yeah,
they're both great in those movies. And you're right. I think it gets. I think Bardem in Dune 2 was the first time in years that I've seen him in a Hollywood film, I guess, where I've been like, oh yeah, this is what we always loved about him. Because I listened to him on Mark Maron, and I really love his attitude. And like, his mother was a very well-known Spanish actress, so he obviously comes from like Spanish film background. It does feel at the end of that conversation like, okay, maybe Lyle Crocodile and this stuff isn't the best use of this guy's time. Like, maybe he could be one of the greats if money wasn't being constantly kind of like thrown at him to, you know, to be a star. But, you know, he has like a great working relationship with his wife, Penelope Cruz. They seem to have this very diplomatic thing where every time one of them gets an Oscar nomination, they both get an Oscar nomination. Like, he wins for this, she wins for Vicky Cristina the following year, and then they both get nominated in 2021. Him for the appalling Aaron Sorkin movie where he plays Desi Arnaz, her for the Almodovar, and then you know, they're both very like outspoken and politically motivated in a way that, you know, many of their peers are not. And he was doing the rounds, doing interviews, I suppose, for his performance in F1 recently, which is one of the only parts of that movie that I found inspired at all in terms of like a jolt of energy into that otherwise very like machine based story.
Yeah.
You enjoyed him in F1.
Yeah, he's kind of doing the Denzel and Gladiator thing where he's just kind of a bankable, likable guy now that he can kind of just show up and do a somewhat comedic performance in
it's maybe
serious film.
it's all. I feel like what he does in these movies tends to be a little bit obvious, where maybe I wouldn't like it to be.
Sure.
But
I like him in Mother quite a bit, actually, and I think he's interestingly cast in that. Almost said casted. I'm talking to some Zoomers over here.
no,
I you know, like the mercurial nature of Yahweh, like the sort of all-seeing, omniscient, but also very very hard to pin down and prone to bouts of rage. Like, I think he's well cast in terms of like the stand-in for the like Old Testament God.
Yeah. I'll stand up for his performance in Eat, Pray, Love. Just it's unique that she travels so much and she dates a few different guys, but ultimately finds love with Javier Bardem. And he's just basically like the hunk at the end of a long journey. And it's like amazing to see him just like welcome all that energy in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I watched the Iñárritu movie Beautiful, which is very like, it's like being kind of like having a bucket of cold water thrown in your face for 2 hours in terms of like misery and suffering. But I did find him very compelling in it as like guy trying to live his life, protect his kids, like couldn't take my eyes off him, and he's in like every frame of that movie. I don't know. That was, I think, his next Oscar nomination after he wins for No Country is that, and it does show a nice warmer side of him that audiences probably needed to see to understand his range after this.
Yeah, I think what something we've been saying already is that these three guys are all like secret sweeties, right? Like Bardem's been the romantic lead too. He hasn't just been the villain or the heavy. And there's some of that comes across.
You know, Jordan, the first screening that I went to of this, you remember Kellen from college was doing the Q&A, and he asked Tommy Lee Jones, is this film about illegal immigration? Is it a metaphor for illegal immigration? And Tommy Lee Jones got so angry at him. It was amazing to see. It was like I cannot sanction this tomfoolery level.
Yeah, what was the substance of his, like, did he just say like no, or did he say like this isn't how you should be talking about films? Like, what was the, like, how like, do you remember like what exactly he was mad about?
He was like 100% no. He was basically like, that is a completely wrong read. That is like I am shutting this down as hard as I possibly can. And I'm like staring through your soul as I'm doing it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And in the conversations that we are having with our parents and with older people around us, I think we can recognize that reaction as being like pretty like familiar in terms of like, obviously there's something there. And like, you know, like,
oh, you're saying that he's like, maybe there is about
yeah.
Yeah.
He doth protest too much, you know, like, it's like when someone's like, no, God, no, like that exact. It's like when they add the God, no, it's like you definitely like you rubbed up against something.
Yeah.
I feel like if Tommy Lee Jones wanted to, he could become a De Niro type, like going on cable news, shouting about Trump every day. Like people would listen to him, but maybe it would take away from some of the enigma he maintains as an actor. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea what his politics are, you know?
He's friends with Al Gore. That's all I know.
Well, who knows what Al Gore's friends are into these days, you know?
This is true.
Yeah.
Maybe we'd prefer he stay where he is. But I guess the big question with this movie is why does this become the Coen's film that like that the Oscars embrace, and that I guess becomes like for people who don't watch all of their other films, this is probably like the definitive one. I'd say this, Fargo, Lebowski, in terms of like the average person on the street knows which ones you're talking about. You guys think about this stuff more than we do in terms of their career. So like, is this the one you find that like the average non-cinephile engages with the most? Because to me, the iconography of it is more present culturally, but I don't know.
I think Lebowski is the one that people know the most, you know, that has like the most real estate actually in terms of time spent watching, you know, and the ability to just share it as like a common, like everyone knows the script of it so well. But yeah, why was this? Because they were also in a pretty cold place. This is their post Lady Killers movie, so it wasn't like this was rewarding them for like a bunch of stuff they were doing. This was a zag, and then it just blew up. So I think it's really a movie that can be enjoyed like in the most sophisticated way and just in the most popcorn way. I think it's a big part of it.
Yeah, it's a genre movie through and through. It's the classic setup of found money and the psychopathic killers who are trying to get it back, and the cop who's trying to protect people. But so it's like it's an action movie with no, well, I don't want to say no dull moments, because I actually think like you were saying, like there are things about it that are not like completely nailed down, but it's an extremely engaging, highly watchable action movie. But then also every shot just looks like an oil painting.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just like you just like look, if you just pause this movie and just look at what people's faces look like it's like this movie and There Will Be Blood. I don't know if if they were just like pouring extra sauce into the development labs or no, but more likely it's just you have Deakins or you have a Robert Elswit, and the entire sort of like tradition of shooting on celluloid, behind them, and just certain movies come out where people are just painting beautifully. Ed Lockman calls he says shooting on film is like mixing colors with oil paint. Like you can kind of keep mixing it. And that's just like, that's what I think about when I look at shots from this movie, like just unspeakably beautiful shots of people's faces.
Yeah, it's psycho. It's psycho how much you can keep looking at it and still find new things that are just incredibly deep. I think a part of the reason why the film did so well is it's kind of like the Terminator or like a slasher film, like Friday the 13th, where there's a bad guy character with a really distinct look. And that's basically what you have to sell people to understand the movie. It's like he's coming and there's going to be a lot of cat and mouse chase scenes. Mm-hmm. It's very exciting.
And it seems like this like generationally hard to believe thing that this and There Will Be Blood come out so close together. They are filming in Marfa at the same time, which is just like if you showed somebody these two movies and they didn't even know they were from the same year, they would probably draw a parallel between them. The fact that they were literally like next door neighbors during production and like both end up being released through Paramount Vantage and Miramax, like it's weird that they are kind of put out almost as a duo of films by the two great 21st century American filmmakers of this type. Like is that pre-planned? Is somebody pulling strings there? I don't understand what happened.
I have a general theory about it, which is just like, and this is like To the White Sea related, just that No Country is so much like a lot of the stuff that they wanted to accomplish in To the White Sea, they didn't get to do until they made No Country. To the White Sea was very famously halted by 9/11 happening. And I just feel like 2007, this was kind of the moment where the artistic community kind of gained its footing, like after 9/11, the Iraq War, the 2004 election, all that stuff. There's just this kind of new, kind of hardened fascination with darkness, which was like so unappealing directly after 9/11. Like by the time you get to 2007, I feel like people were ready to be like, let's watch Michael Clayton, let's watch There Will Be Blood, let's do the Jesse James movie that's so dark. There was a space and an appetite, and people kind of had like a way to voice that.
It's like a renewed maturity of the audience and of the industry, I suppose, that I guess peaks here and then everything kind of goes back to being a little bit more pandery after this. I don't know. With the exceptions of some filmmakers like these guys in PTA who continue to do things in as interesting a way as possible.
Yeah, there's something in the water in Marfa for sure, right?
Everybody should have just set up shop in Marfa and started making their movies there. I mean, something that we were obviously reminded of by a lot of the like process in this and like watching guys like put together their little traps and is a lot of the stuff in the Vince Gilligan shows. The Jonathan Banks out in the desert setting up a trap in Better Call Saul seems so heavily inspired by this. And I wonder if a lot of the influence of this movie actually ends up on television, where you have the time to breathe and be patient and tell these kinds of like, outdoor big picture stories. And maybe that's where we should all be looking in terms of this movie's long-term influence more so than in Hollywood movies. I don't know. They don't
really do the like extremely considered montages of that this movie that like comprise this movie on TV. I mean, maybe they do, and certainly, I guess Breaking Bad does have some stuff like that, but I don't see that kind of visual storytelling. even in the not to. I don't mean to just completely push back on it, but
I mean, the big echoes of this movie that I've like recently at the theater, like I felt like when I was watching Eddington, I was like a lot of the scenes of Joaquin Phoenix like jumping around in the dark in the desert, being hunted by people. I was like, this feels like he loves that sequence from No Country. And then also just like, watching Weapons and, just seeing Josh Brolin driving around in a pickup truck trying to figure something out and being kind of hunted. I was like, this is the juice. We got the juice again.
It is really interesting that with Eddington and Weapons, it was just like back to back or in quick succession, 2 movies just made by Coen's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of, I'm not going to say where it happens, but have you guys seen Weapons? Has it opened over there?
We haven't seen it. We've
okay,
seen
so no,
I
won't say anything then. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one movie you guys have seen that we haven't is Honey Don't, which is not out here for a couple of weeks. What do you guys think of it? Is it good?
I've seen it. Ray hasn't.
Okay.
I'm seeing it tomorrow, and we're going to record our instant response.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, rapid response.
But
for anyone out there listening, if this comes out when the movie's out, I think it's really good, and you should go see it in the theater if you can.
We loved Drive Away Dolls, so I think if I like that, I think I'm going to like this. I assume that's how it works.
I was going to bring up Drive Away Dolls real quick, just because I rewatched it in preparation for the episode we're going to record tomorrow, and the 3-stranded braid is very much a part of the way that movie moves. And it's interesting, like in that movie, after one sort of strand gets terminated, you just immediately see Matt Damon just like zooming in, like right where that was. Like there's a very clear, like, I don't want to say like it's like, cause I think Ethan and Joel both work very intuitively. Like, I don't want to say like, oh, there's this like overarching structure to all their movies, but I did pick up on that, where it was just like, shit, we don't have anything to cut to. Better have this character kind of enter the fold.
So as we were saying, you guys are going to have your Honey Don't reaction episode out by the time this episode drops, I imagine. Is there anything else people should keep an eye out for coming down the road from either of you, both To the White Sea related and otherwise, that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I would just say keep checking for the podcast. That's what I would say.
Keep checking for the podcast. Look out for my silent performance as a British newsreel cinematographer in Marty Supreme.
You're gonna be star of the show. Scene stealing performance, I'm sure.
You didn't work with a dialect coach to get a few lines in?
Yeah, I'm doing an accent, but they'd never recorded me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Everybody, please check out To the White Sea.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you again to Jordan and Ray for joining us. And you can find everything related to The White Sea on their Instagram page. It's To the White Sea with an underscore between all of the words. And it's a really fantastic podcast we highly recommend. Now, Shane and I are here to discuss the box office. No Country for Old Men was made for a budget of $25 million and it grossed $171.6 million. Obviously a massive boost there coming from its Best Picture win. And I mean, I remember my dad going to see this on his own while me and my mother went to see something else, which is a very rare thing at this point for him to be going to see movies that weren't for family audiences, But there was a certain type of American movie that would break through where my dad would be like, oh, damn, I have to see this in the cinema. And I remember he did it twice in 2007 with this and Zodiac, where he was like, I've got to see this on a big screen, which is something that
you weren't of the age yet to...
Oh, I was far too young. I was 10. So it's interesting to remember the very select number of films that he would have done that with, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But this was definitely breaking through with all of its award success and whatnot. Tommy Lee Jones was paid $15 million after a lawsuit in bonuses because apparently Paramount's legal team fucked up his contract and accidentally promised him a bunch of money. And then he realized this. He sued once the film made it a big profit and said, hey, you owe me a bunch of money.
He had secret sneaky back end in there.
It was secret back end that they hadn't meant to give him, but they did by mistake. I think is what happened. There's an article in The Guardian called Why Tommy Lee Jones Was Right to Sue Over His Salary. He sued for $10 million and he said that there was a bonus he'd been promised and all of this. And they ended up suing him. And then I think they also they ended up paying him out. And then they ended up coming to a settlement with the with the lawyers who had fucked up as well. So that's
Yeah.
very funny. But this movie makes a good bit of money. It's released in the United States on November 9th, 2007, after its premiere at Cannes that year. What is out the opening weekend? Where does it sit in the opening weekend box office?
It sits well down.
Okay.
This was not a
Limited.
big
Limited.
big opening week.
This is Miramax in
Hit?
the US who released this.
Ooh, it's not showing me the screen numbers actually, but
Okay.
number 1,
So we're talking November 2007.
a
Interesting.
comedy man doing a comedy voice.
Comedy man doing a comedy voice. Is it a live action movie though?
No,
It's an animated movie and he's doing a comedy voice.
he was maybe beyond the peak of his powers at this stage.
In 2007.
Yeah, he's a slightly earlier generation than the comedy guys.
Is
We
it?
kind of
It's not Tim Allen.
no, maybe a touch younger than that.
2006. Is this a good film?
I have not seen this. I'd say in 15 years.
Is it something that I talk about? You think so?
It's present in the modern culture, in memes and the likes.
07. Oh, this movie is B movie.
B movie.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow. November release. B movie. B movie. A very clever title. A film I have really no interest
Oh
in.
yeah, I never realized that.
I do think that the B movie meme cycle of like 2015 to 2017 got old very fast.
You like jazz?
Like it's not. It's an ironic film. You know. I don't think you can turn a comedy into a meme. It's already
not a sincere kids film.
No,
it's
like
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's meant to be funny. Anyway.
Yeah, you can't riff on curb bits.
Yeah, Ray Liotta's in that. It's good fun.
Yeah. Next up is a nationality and a job.
Okay, so it's not the English patient.
No.
It's not the Irish something.
No.
Is it an American something?
Yeah.
The American
No D.
American gangster.
American gangster.
Am I right in thinking that Josh Brolin is in that movie?
I'll,
I believe he is. Josh Brolin is in American Gangster. One of his duo of weird antagonist roles in slick auteur blockbusters, along with Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, which of course references his real life career in stocks and trading.
Oh, yes, of course.
Wonderful.
Next up. Kind of another... No, not really. This is a name and another name.
A name?
This is just one name.
Michael Clayton.
No. Close, though. No, not close. I'm being stupid.
It's just a person's name.
This is a Christmas film.
Fred Claus.
Fred Claus.
I do love Fred Claus. Fred Claus, low-key, kind of a boy party.
I was going to say this is a name and a job, but Claus isn't a job.
No, yeah, exactly. Fred Claus, Vince Vaughn, Paul Giamatti, a David Dobkin film. I have a lot of time for that. I think it's good fun.
Next up. This is something that should probably be a lot better than it is.
Right, interesting.
Given the complete massive star power behind it.
Okay, massive star power. What
Yeah.
kind of star are we talking?
Like, biggest
What's the
actress of all time.
biggest actress
Or
of
one
all
of the most
time?
successful actresses of all time. One
What's
of the most...
Is it Lions for Lambs?
Lions for Lambs.
Interesting, yeah. No,
Streep
not good.
and Cruise and
Redford,
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a film we might do on the show one day because it's such a perfect boy party movie. But
Like
it's,
this opened this week as well.
yeah,
At number 4.
features a young Andrew Garfield. It's a snooze.
Yeah. Next up. This is one of the comedy guys of the era.
Not Carrie,
Close. Again, a touch younger.
Murphy, Stiller. Who's younger than Carrie? Carell.
Yep.
Okay, Dan in real life.
Dan in real life.
Yeah, his head is on a stack of pancakes.
It is.
Yeah, somebody bought me that DVD once as a present. Yeah,
It's kind of a fun poster.
yeah. Juliette Binoche plays his wife in that.
It's exciting.
I've never seen it nor had much desire to see
We
it.
got Alison Pill and Britt Robertson bringing up the
All right,
bringing up the rear there.
cool.
Yeah,
Two of my faves. Yeah, really
absolutely.
good. Very good.
Next up is it's a Saw. Can you guess the number?
So the first one's in 04, so I'm gonna guess it's Saw 3.
Incorrect.
Saw 4. Shit.
You're not a Saw guy.
No, I haven't saw any of them.
That's the show, folks.
That's it.
That's it. Next up, we'll do one more.
One more.
Just because this was a guy who was doing comedy at the time and
Yes.
then transitioned out of comedy a little bit
It's not Reign Over Me.
into more actiony stuff, and now he's
Oh.
taking on his most serious role yet this year.
This year.
Yeah.
So this is Dwayne Johnson,
Dwayne Johnson.
and this is in 2007.
Yep.
Is it comedy?
Yeah.
Is it Game Plan?
Yep.
That's 2007.
The Game Plan.
The Game Plan is 2007. Wow.
Yeah.
Could have sworn that was like 09. Okay, there you go. Future Academy Award winner, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, rounding off the list, 30 Days a Night, P2, whatever that is. Martian Child.
I think P2 is like set in like a multi-story car park serial killer thing. Martian Child. John
Oh,
Cusack.
Martian Child, yes.
You
yes,
like
yes.
that? The
We
John
do like
Cusack
Martian
movie.
Child, yeah.
All right.
Not a great.
No.
Not a great weekend.
Thank God we had not only No Country
movie.
for Old Men, but Michael Clayton and There Will Be Blood coming out immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
So a good time to be an American.
Good time.
Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Thank you again to Jordan and Ray for joining us. We will be back next week. You can visit boypartypod.com for the latest episodes. You can follow Boy Party Pod on Blue Sky and Instagram. If you're interested in movies set in Dublin and movies set in San Francisco, you can check out my other podcast, City Sickos, where myself and Hannah Friedel discuss Mrs. Doubtfire and Mrs. Brown's Boys the Movie, a San Francisco and Dublin classic, respectively, and compare how those films reflect the cities that they were made in. We are back next Tuesday. We're back every Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Get home safe.